Hi everybody, welcome to Mel's Go Slow Crochet. Welcome back if you're returning, and welcome if you're new. I'm Mel, and thank you to those who have supported me for the last couple of weeks as I get this little channel off the ground. I've just really enjoyed chatting about crochet. One of my brothers-in-law was asking about what the plans are for the channel, and I referred to it as a stitch and bitch. So apologies if that language offends, but that's what I think of it like. And again, I didn't bring anything to stitch along with because I don't know. I've still got to figure out how to coordinate myself with all of this. But anyway, and I appreciate that anyone who's been watching on TV has had real trouble hearing it. And unfortunately, I'm not aware of that until I've uploaded the video and I try and watch it myself on TV. Because when I'm watching on my phone or on a laptop or whatever, everything sounds fine. So even though I had the microphone last week, it was too far down my lapel, I think. So this week I've put it right up here. So hopefully that works a bit better. I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and please bear with me as I work through these technical things. But I do appreciate you joining me on this crochet journey. And you've probably noticed by now that I sort of set myself up in this like library / miscellaneous room we've got going on here. I don't actually have a craft room, so I've got like storage, those storage bags that hang on doors. I've got them hanging on a couple of different doors around the house with yarn in them, and then I've got yarn over the floor and on shelves, and works in progress all over the place. I know where everything is, but it's a bit haphazard. So sometimes I craft in here, but most of the time I just craft out in the lounge room when I'm watching telly of an evening or just hanging out, with a movie on or something. So yeah, this is kind of like the only place I get to set up, and I'm still trying to it's a place that gets decent daylight. So yeah, trying to film during the day. Also, apologies, this video is a couple of days late. Life's just got in the way. We had a washing machine die on us over the weekend. Just life. And so filming was delayed a little bit, but I'm here now. So I'll try and get a bit more organized, a bit more of a schedule happening, but thanks for bearing with me. And as I'm learning to edit the videos still, I may even figure out how to include like a still image or something during this one. Stay tuned. We'll see if I can figure that out, or if I have the patience to even try and figure it out. We'll see how things go. Anyway, but yeah, thank you and welcome. So let's get started. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today was a temperature blanket. It's something that's really popular. There's so many, little background videos on YouTube and stuff. And so when I was getting used to crochet and I just wanted something that I could work on stitches on and not really think, excuse me, and make something a bit more practical, I kept hearing about all these temperature blankets. And so I did a bit of a search on YouTube and I found one that worked for me. And that was, it's a playlist. So I can't recall, maybe 6 or 7 videos by Gumleaf Crochet, and I will put a link to that in the description. And I just found she was really helpful when it came to explaining temperature blankets, the different things you can do. She also offers, Jill is her name, I shouldn't call her she. Jill also offers a booklet to help you design a temperature blanket and plan. And so I was like, this sounds like a really cool thing to sink my teeth into. And as you guys know, I've been working on a few different ones because I've been going for historical years. And they're all sort of the same design. If I ever do one in future, I might try and do something a bit different, maybe like a ripple stitch blanket or something. I don't know. I'm not really setting out to do any more temperature blankets for a while once I finish the ones I'm working on. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. And so in Australia, we've got the Bureau of Meteorology website, which has all historical temperature data, so you can look up the year and your area, and it should have like the whole year's worth of data. So that's what I used. I think other countries, I'm sure, have their own systems, but so I was able to get, for this particular year, for our wedding year, I was able to get all the data for the whole year. So I downloaded that, and then it was a matter of working out what colours I wanted to use for each temperature range. Now, because I'm in South Australia, temperatures can range from like 11 degrees during the day in winter up to, 40 something. So it could be, this is Celsius I'm talking, up to like 43, 40, whatever. So I tried to do, rather than have one colour per degree, I tried to do a range. So I did like 11 to 13 degrees and then 14 to 16. And I did 3 up all the way. And then once it got over 40, if it's over 40, I just went with one colour rather than try and break it down. And that was sort of to try and save money and not having too many colours floating around. So you can do things however you like. But in Jill's little workbook, she has this colour chart where you can map out what colours you want for which range, and then you can put little holes here and attach a bit of the yarn so you can see. So all of these colours I've chosen were from Stylecraft Special DK, and we went from a range because it was our wedding year. I really like purples and my husband really likes blues, so we went for that range, and then we went for this neutral colour called Parchment for the joining. So we both picked 5 or 6 colours and then tried to sort of put them together in a gradient of how we thought it would work. The only downside, I think, to this is because it's Stylecraft Special DK, which is 100% acrylic, we ordered from Wool Warehouse, which is a UK-based company, because Stylecraft is a UK company. And so I really wanted to try it out, and so we ordered it. And when you're looking on the screen, the colours are a little bit, they're not exactly like you would get when you have it in front of you. And so there's 2 colours here which are very similar. It's these 2. They're Blue Sky and Cloud Blue. And so probably if we did this again, I'd go for a bit more contrast, just because when it came time to do the blanket, it was really, they sort of blended together. So that is my big finished object for the week, because if you watched last week, you saw I didn't have too much to go. And I have finished a temperature blanket. So this is our wedding year one, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So we've got just a bit of a preview. And they're basically just 2 rounds of granny squares, and then they're joined with the continuous join as you go with the neutral colour, and then there's 360 squares in total, and then the last 5 days of the year you do as the border. So we had one really warm day in December, and then the rest were kind of 20, 25 degrees ish, and so there's not a lot of variation in the border colours, but it's just, you get what you get, don't you, when you're doing a temperature blanket. And it just all, and again, there's like a lot more blues, so he had a lot more colour in it than I did, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. And it's great timing because now we've got it in the lounge room. We can, use it because it's so cold at the moment because it's winter over here. So now, probably because this was the second one I finished this year, I really was glad to be finished with it. But it was such a lovely project because if you sort of space it out, it doesn't take a long time to do a 2-round granny square at all. And then because it's the continuous join as you go, you don't have to worry about losing where you're up to or trying to figure it out or anything. So I'd recommend it as something if you're just trying to practice your stitches, because because it's granny squares, it's just a double crochet all the way around. And then when it got to the border, we just did half double crochets into the back loops, and then 1 round of single crochet on the top, and that was it. But I highly recommend checking out the playlist by Jill at Gumleaf Crochet. So yeah, I will link to her channel in my description. Yeah, I look, it spoke to me. I found her design and her approach really useful, and she's got tutorials that go through everything, every aspect. So you really can just get stuck into it and just have it as a nice sort of wintry project where you can just sort of switch your brain off. And it doesn't take, I mean, obviously it's a year's worth of temperatures, so there's a fair bit in here, but in terms of a daily amount of crochet, it's a really small amount if you sort of space it out. And if you want to get it done quickly, again, it doesn't take too long to do a few squares at once. So yeah, that is the temperature blanket for our wedding year. And I have one left in my works in progress, which I'm behind on. That is, again, a historical year for 2024. Less enthused about that one, I think, because I'm just a bit over it. But I will get back to that, and I'll get cracking on it, because, again, it doesn't take long to do some squares. So that was the main thing I wanted to talk about, my one finished object for the week. But it's a big one, and I'm really happy with it. So yeah, and then I wanted to touch on, excuse me as I rearrange things, then I wanted to touch on the burrow blanket, which I didn't get as much done, well, barely anything done on it. I only worked on it for one night because I was working on the temperature blanket and finishing that off. But basically just got another row attached with the flat slip stitch. That seems to be working well. And finally, yesterday, I received notification that the colour tabby that I need to finish off this blanket was back in stock, so I've ordered it. But being that it's coming from the US, for some reason, it's going to take 3 to 4 weeks, even though when I order from the UK, it's here within a week. At barely any of the cost that it costs from US. Postage is crazy at the moment. I don't know what's going on. But posting things from the US, but I had to for this one because it is from crochet.com. It's their Knit Picks City Tweed DK. And I'm pretty sure it's only available in the US because they make that there. But this is good, but it is a bit slower going because when I work on this at night, I need an extra light in the lounge to see what I'm doing. And I'm really, after stuffing up on this earlier, I'm really conscious of getting the colours right. So I have been like triple checking that I'm doing them all. Anyway, I didn't actually count how many more rows I need to do, but I think it's a lot. But I can focus on this now that I've finished the temperature blanket. So that's one of my works in progress that I'm actively working on. It won't get done by the end of this month. I'm going to blame the waiting for the yarn, but I think even then that's, a bit generous of me, or a bit cheeky of me, I should say, not generous, because I haven't been devoting the time to it that I should. Like last night, I didn't do any of it. I came home from book club and it was about the time that I would normally crochet, but I couldn't bring myself to bring it all out. But anyway, that's that. And I wanted to show you a bit of the beanie that is, now that I'm going back to it, is a active work in progress. And I hope to finish this week because beanies do not take very long at all. I've just got to give it the time that it needs. Oh gosh, it's a bit of a tangled mess here, but this is basically it at the moment. So just sort of, it's one sort of tapers. So this is the top. So when it's sewn together, you sort of pull this in, and because it's single crochets here, it's not as thick as the half double crochets. Geez, I actually can't even remember. Anyway, I'm going to have to double check the instructions for this, but this is the beanie that's so far. So it's probably, because it's stretchy, it's probably about half done, so it's not going to take much longer to do. So I've got to get onto that and get that finished off. And that is using this yarn, which is Annette Erickson Scandi Wool. It's 50% wool and 50% acrylic, and it's from Spotlight. And this colour is dark grey. Yeah, this yarn's not bad. I've made a scarf for a friend out of this brand of yarn, but in like a really nice like purpley colour. So sorry, there's a bit of wool flying around. I just look weird doing this. Anyway, so yeah, that is the beanie. And look, I don't know what else to say about my works in progress. I'm really trying. Okay, so I've taken on board feedback about focus on one thing and get it done. And so I've been trying to do that. I do get bored, so that's why I flip between projects, but it makes it quite stressful because then you don't get things finished. You just have a lot of half-finished things. So this week, focus on the beanie. Let's get that done. It's such a small thing. I've just got to finish it. Get that done. Focus on getting some more rows of the burrow blanket sorted out. And then I need to get back to my other temperature blanket. And then I need to get started on the scarf for my daughter's teacher, because I don't want to leave that too late. I'm really mindful that that's probably going to take me a bit of time because it's a bit more of an intricate scarf and I haven't worked with that cotton before. So in the meantime, because I'm not busy enough, I have decided to try to learn how to knit as well. There's a local yarn shop not far from me called Yarn Traders, and they are running beginner workshops once a month for 3 months. And the first one is not this weekend, but next weekend. And so I'm so excited. In the first workshop, we learn how to make fingerless mittens. In the second workshop, we learn how to make the Sophie scarf. And in the third one, oh my gosh, I can't remember. I think it was a cowl. However, I tried just, Mum gave me some of her old knitting needles and I have heaps of yarn around. So I just tried to practice just basic knitting using YouTube tutorials, and things kept slipping off the needles, and then I'd crack it and rip it all out and start again. And I haven't done that for about 4 weeks. So I don't think I will bother now before the class. But I don't know how we're going to be able to make the things that we're designed that the course is designed to help you to make in 1 month. And I even checked in with them and they've confirmed, yes, it's for absolute beginners. You don't need to know how to hold the knitting needles. You don't need to know anything. Everything is going to be sorted out when we arrive. So that'll be something I'll report back on, even though this is a crochet channel. But, because I've got so much time on my hands, let's add something else to the mix. But anyway, thank you again for joining me today. Hopefully next week I will have at least one thing to show you as a finished object. But in the meantime, if you're interested in temperature blankets or, anything like that, there is so much out on YouTube. I really recommend doing a bit of a search. Like I said, I will put the link to Jill's channel at Gumleaf Crochet in the description, so you can find that. And you can always grab a copy of the workbook that she offers. That's for free, and just have a think about if you want to join in, that sort of thing. And what else? Why don't you comment and tell me what you've been up to? I'd love to know what you've been making or what you've been thinking of making. thank you again for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.